I stayed at the Congress Hotel on Michigan Avenue in Chicago August 1st through the 4th in 2023. I was in town for Lollapalooza and thought it'd be interesting to stay in the most haunted hotel in Chicago. I'd recently gotten a new camera lens and thought it would be good to try it out there. I could do a little walkthrough video and make this for the channel. If you're not familiar with the Congress Hotel, let me give you a brief overview. The Congress Hotel rests across the street from Grant Park, which hosts Lollapalooza on Michigan Avenue. It was opened in 1893, right before the World's Fair. In 1902 and 1907, there were two large renovations, which brought the size of the hotel to more than 1 million square feet. The hotel has over 871 rooms. It has hosted many presidents and events. The list of presidents that have stayed there include Grover Cleveland, William McKinley, Teddy Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, Woodrow Wilson, Warren Harding, Calvin Coolidge, and Franklin Roosevelt. The ceiling murals were painted in 1918 by E. Martin Hennings. In 1940, more murals were added by Louis Grell. Many tragedies have befallen the people at the Congress. These tragic deaths resulted in creating the spirits that haunt the hotel to this day. In 1900, Captain Osthelm stayed at the Congress. The captain suffered from PTSD. Captain Osthelm suffered from night terrors. He woke up one night during a stay there, reached for his gun, put it to his head, and pulled the trigger. Now known as the Shadow Man, he reportedly roams many areas of the hotel. He's been spotted by security guards before, but always disappears around a corner or into a room. Some say the captain roams the halls of the Congress still looking for his bride. An elevator operator fell to his death down 7 floors to the bottom of an elevator shaft in 1904. James Kennedy checked into the Congress in 1910, burned all of his identifying papers, then shot himself. Mr. and Mrs. Morris Davis checked into the hotel in 1916. Their room was room 312. It was in that room that they made a suicide pact, and Mr. Davis passed from ingesting cyanide tablets. Mrs. Davis survived and was later committed to an asylum. Herb Palin, who coined the phrase safety first, died of a sudden heart attack in his room. This occurred in 1928. In 1939, tragedy occurred at the hotel. Hotel guest Adele Langer jumped from a 13th floor window. To make this event even more tragic, she took her 2 sons with her. All 3 did not survive the fall. Afraid she'd be deported, she committed suicide rather than go back to Germany. One of her sons' bodies was never reclaimed. It's thought that he roams the 12th floor, still looking for his final resting place. People have reported seeing a young boy around 6 years old. He's known to approach guests with a smile and then disappear. The 12th floor is known as the most haunted floor of the hotel. Hotel guest Adele Langer jumped from a 12th floor window. In 1950, John Raymond shot the hotel manager, then himself, over a debt of $104. Frederick Hay was found naked in his room, dead and bound, in 1966. He was bound with his own socks and gagged with his own shirt. All this negative energy has seemingly had a lasting effect on the Congress Hotel. The South Tower has a phantom who roams around the 5th floor elevator. Moaning has been heard by guests who are waiting for the elevator in that area. The 3rd floor hallways are known to be the location of a roaming, possibly one-legged ghost. Some guests report hearing clomping steps, but when investigated, nothing is there. A young boy around 10 has been reported to run up and down the halls of the South Tower. All these activities occur in the hallways. Only one room in the South Tower is known to be haunted. Room 905 has some electrical issues that can't be explained. Static energy is a constant complaint about that room. The North Tower is home to the most activity. There is a room where pictures that hang on the walls will rotate. An exorcism was performed in a room residing in the North Tower. Guests have complained about a towering black figure entering their room from the closet and approaching the guest's bed. Room 474 has had higher than normal complaints about the TV changing channels by itself. Room 759 is haunted by a ghost that holds the doors shut on guests when they try to open them. On the 12th floor in the North Tower, there's a padlocked room with no numbers. There's also a paper-covered room. The room was drywalled shut and papered over. When looking at the spot the door was, you can see it was papered over. The outline is still there. This mysterious room that can't seem to be located is in fact numbered 666. Room 209 doesn't exist. Don't believe me? Go stay there, try to find it. It ceased to exist along with room 666, both said to be so horrible that they've been sealed shut forever. Room 441 is also a famously haunted room. It's the room that Stephen King based 1408 on. The room is still there and hasn't been removed yet. This is considered to be the most haunted room in the hotel. If you haven't seen 1408, you should watch it. I'll give my personal story on this room later on. On to my experience staying at the Congress. I was only there in the morning and late at night. My afternoons and evenings were spent across the street at Lollapalooza. Knowing that the Congress is haunted and me getting my new camera lens, I figured this would be a good time to do a little video walkthrough and see if I could experience anything. I talked to an older security guard that had worked at the Congress for years. He said he'd seen a little boy walking around and that they seemed to disappear. He also said that in general he believed the Congress was haunted and has experienced weird issues around a certain elevator. The gentleman had some tips as to where the most paranormal occurrences happened. The Congress is old and beautiful and unsettling to walk through. The hallways are long, and some seem completely deserted. So many look exactly the same it gets real easy to be turned around in. It's almost like a mental maze. There's old back rooms you can peek into, and some you can even walk around in. On my travels, I ran into very few people, which just made the place seem even more like a Twilight Zone episode. Most of what I felt was on the 12th floor, in the North Tower. The hallways seemed to go on forever. Everything felt claustrophobic, like the whole hotel was leaning on you. I didn't run into one other person while up there, except for one, and we'll get to him. A lot of it just seemed deserted, like it had been left in time. Everywhere I walked on the 12th floor it seemed really heavy, like the atmosphere was just heavy on you, kind of difficult to breathe. And two rooms really caught my attention. The first was 428. For whatever reason, 428 felt really weird. As I stood in front of it to record the numbers, it seemed to almost call to me, like the room wanted me to go into it. I looked to my left and right. Deserted. No one. I listened for a moment. Nothing but a dull hum all around me. This was not my room, so I did not go into it. I haven't really found any stories concerning this room specifically, but room 428 had some energy to it. I had heard so much about 441 that I figured I'd need to check that room out. On my way to 441, I continued to record and capture footage to try with this lens. The hallway started to just bleed together. I think I got turned around a time or two, and there was just a pressure that I couldn't quite figure out. It seemed unsettling. I finally got to 441. I get the camera out and started to focus on the numbers of the room. Again, just silence all around me, and that pressure. A very, very heavy feeling. 441 was something else. I don't think the camera would quite focus on the numbers. They're a bit blurry in the footage. Then I heard some talking going on in the room. Two voices, and they were low. Earlier, I had heard that they no longer rent this room out, so I was surprised to hear voices. Then I heard someone walking towards the door. Not wanting them to open the door with my camera pointing at them, I quickly turned my camera off and walked away a bit. The older guard from earlier in the day that told me they don't rent the room out came out of the room, then checked and made sure the door was locked. He then looked right through me and walked away. No hello, no how you doing, No house the ghost hunting. Just didn't even see me, and then walked away. When he had left, I went back to the door, and I put my ear to it. Nothing. Silence. Humming. It was the creepiest feeling I've had there. I didn't really know how to approach the guard the next day about it without seeming too weird. So I didn't. The entire situation was just unsettling. I think if I go back to Lollapalooza again, I'll stay at the Congress on the 12th floor of the North Tower. See if I can get any more footage and do a more thorough walkthrough. If you're into older buildings or the paranormal, I suggest you visit the Congress Hotel in Chicago. It's an experience. Beautiful, old, unsettling. Let us know if you've stayed at a haunted hotel in the comments. If you like this, and you have another suggestion for a haunted location you'd like to see us cover, put that in the comments as well. Oh, and if you've ever stayed at the Congress and have your own experiences there, we'd love to hear them. Until next time, stay creepy, my friends.